Hello, my name's Rob and welcome to Swift Slots. Like any self-respecting man-child, I collect Hot Wheels. And by far my most favourite Hot Wheels is this one, the Alfa Romeo GTA. I love the colours and I love the shape and I love the packaging, but that's a Hot Wheels thing. This is the slightly nicer version of Hot Wheels, what they call the Real Riders, with metal chassis and a metal body. A little bit more money, but it's a beautiful car. Fortunately for me, Revoslot also do the Alfa Romeo GTA, which I'm sure you know about. And I bought this white kit version. So in this video, I'm going to paint this white kit and get it on the track where it belongs, because it doesn't belong in that box. But fortunately for me, Revoslot comes mostly built, so there's almost nothing to do on the chassis, a little bit of very basic setup work, and it's mainly about painting the bodywork. So I'm going to get you on my bench, I'm going to show you the contents of this white kit for those that don't know already, and we should crack on and get this body painted up and get the car on the track, run it round Crow Valley and see what she'll do. Okay, so here is the inspiration for this build. It's my Hot Wheels Alfa Romeo GTA. Like I said, it's my favourite one of my entire collection of Hot Wheels. And it's the Real Rider version with the nicer wheels and the nice paint job. And it's just a lovely, lovely car. And for those that are interested in the Hot Wheels packaging, and no, this car isn't coming out the packaging, I am very much an in-packet collector. Hated as we might be by some. So there she is in all of her glory. Absolutely love this car. Note it's got no bumpers. So that's the inspiration. And for those that don't know how a Revoslot white kit comes, it comes in this rather unceremonious cardboard packaging. So if you want to display your model in a nice plastic jewel case after you've finished building it, you might want to consider a different option. You might want to get yourself a box, because these aren't in any way a display box at all. So that's a bit of a downside. So by the time you bought the white kit at a couple of pounds less and you've got yourself a jewel case, you probably have to buy one, then there's not a lot of savings, plus you've got all the work of painting them as well. So I don't know how good a value the white kits really are, but they have value in as much as you can put a paint job on them that you couldn't normally get without having to pay the factory to do you a paint job that you're only going to strip off. So, you know, it's up to you. There's options there. So I've already had this out of the box, so there's a little bit of disorganisation going on here, but it doesn't change the fact of what you get in the box. So what you get is a pre-built chassis. Now I've already been messing around with this one a little bit. I've put the wires into the guide and I've changed the guide over to the wooden guide that they give you, because they actually give you two guides. I'll show you in a minute. They give you two guides. One is a wood guide and one is like a standard Skeletrix guide. So this is the quality of the chassis that we're all used to by Revoslot. There's no difference in the white kit. So the two-piece metal chassis with the brass adjusters there. You've got the stub front axles with twin ball races, alloy wheels all round, very nice sticky tyres. You've got the limit end float spacers on the axle here. You have pillow bearings on the back again with ball races, a plastic gear on a metal boss, brass pinion, 21k motor, aluminium housings, motor adjusting here, and everything that we come to expect from Revoslot. You've got a nice amount of drop guide as well, plenty of movement there, plenty of lock and silicone wire. All in all, a very nice chassis, everything that we're already used to. The body itself, absolutely superb, as you would expect from a manufactured car. No problems there whatsoever, all super sharp and super clean. And then we have the bag of bits, which to say I've already unpacked this, so these bits come in smaller bags, but for the sake of ease I've just dumped it all into one. So we get a Lexan interior, so you have to paint this one. So if you want to do a gloss top, you just spray the bottom black. If you want to do a matte top, you'd have to spray the top matte, otherwise you wouldn't get the matte. So there's something to consider. You get the window, massive hole in the middle of it. However, it is a thick glass. It's not a Lexan glass, so it's not particularly heavy, but you know, it's not the Lexan. But then with the metal chassis, you want a little, you know, it's fine. We got a couple of different bumpers here. You got the front bumper and the rear bumper. which I won't be using on this build because the Hot Wheels doesn't use them. You've got the rear, not really diffuser, but the under part of the body. You have that there. You've got a very nice driver figure with full arms, not sort of half moulded arms. He's very, very nice, period correct. You have a beautiful pair of headlights here, aluminium and everything. They are very, very nice. They're actually aluminium with a little lens in there. Very, very nice they are. There's the other guide. Now, this is the standard guide for something like Skeletrix, and you can actually see the difference in height. But I won't be using that. And it's actually profiled as well. It's got a little bit of a profile going on there, which is actually pretty nice. And then we've got the roll bar parts here, which are there. We've got what I believe is a front bib spoiler. I believe it probably goes on the front there like that. There's no holes drilled in it, but yeah, there's nothing there. But I believe that goes on something like that for certain variants. You've got the front grille, which would fit in thus. I can't see that properly. There you go. That's that. Obviously, you've got a full set of centre hubs, which are again nicely moulded. Pair of windscreen wipers, which actually resemble windscreen wipers. They're not sort of weird, straight blobs of nothing. Fuel tank filler cap, side mirrors. Looks like a pair of spare eyelets for your guide. I don't know if I might put those in afterwards. And you actually get 2 of these etched grills. And one of the other ones in the packet, it didn't come out with the packet, but they go in the front like that, just to finish it off. So there we are. So that's the contents of the kit. Now I've got to sand this body down and get it all sorted out. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the tops of all these rivets on the side, because although they are there in real life, they're not as prominent as this kit would have you think. That they're just a bit too heavy for my taste, so I'm going to knock them back with a bit of 3200 grit wet and dry, just to the point at which you can feel them and kind of see them, but they're not imposing. So that's what I'm going to do now. Get this body all sanded up and into pink primer, ready for my deep red and yellowy orange front end. So that's the body all lightly scuffed over and all of the rivets taken right back to where they're a lot less imposing to touch. One of the very first lessons I was ever taught as a trainee cabinet maker, literally the very first lesson, was touch and feel is absolutely everything. That was the very first lesson I was ever taught. So use the most sensitive part of your finger, which is usually the tip of your small finger, and you can just run along and you can feel what those rivets are doing, and that's the best way to test it. So that's the body all prepped. The other bits are all ready to go, and what I've noticed with this kit is that all the holes are pre-assembled or pre-drilled, ready for the roll bar and the other components. So you can just simply assemble up the roll cage, both halves of it, glue these 2 parts together, and then you can take it out of the interior when they're glued and spray them up separately. This roll cage is going to go silver, so there we are. I can just assemble it up like that, get a bit of my plastic weld and simply glue it into place. Now I just leave that to dry, and when it's dry I'll take it off and stick it on the tree ready to prime up with all the other parts. Some of these parts are going to go the Alclad. Link below for Alclad, it's fantastic chrome paint. And some of them will be going into grey and some of them will be going into pink 1500 Mr. Hobby primer, depending on the application. The body will be going pink because red and yellow goes better on a pink base. other more generic parts will be going into the grey. So let's tree it all up and crack on. There you are, body on a little holder. All the parts are going to be sprayed gold on a separate sprue, with the wheels just masked off so I don't get the paint where the tyre's got to go. All the other parts that are going to go grey, all on here, and the parts that are going to go into chrome on this little one here. Right, let's get some paint going. So what I do with my models, the second they come out the spray booth, the moment I stop spraying, I put them straight into my dehydrator to keep all the dust and any flying particles in the air off of them. And I'll leave them in the dehydrator for about an hour or two, just so that the paint has a chance to bite into the plastic or bite into the other paint layers. Then what I'll do then is turn the heater on and gently warm them through for a few hours on the lowest setting to actually dry the paint out once it's actually soaked into the work. And the reason I put them into the dehydrator is because A, they're going to be dried in there eventually anyway, and B, it's a plastic box, so there's no dust inside there worth talking about that's going to fall down onto the models while they're drying off. If you put them into a cardboard box, all the fibres in the cardboard can fall off the ceiling of the box and fall onto your models. So a plastic container is best. It doesn't have to be a dehydrator. It could be a large Tupperware box or a large storage box, just somewhere that you can put the models when they're painted so the dust can't fall on it. And keep it clean as well. Don't just keep it for years on end and just leave it gather dust. Wash it out every time you do a model so it's nice and clean for each new model that you do. So the next colour I'm going to paint is this gold, number 9, for the wheels and centre caps. This gold is absolutely fantastic. It's fantastic to spray and it looks wonderful when it's finished. It's really, really good stuff. So let's crack on, get the gold on. In my excitement to show you this gold going down for the first time, I forgot to hit the record button, so I only got to show you the spraying of the second coat. But it's a really, really nice gold, and it lays down incredibly well. It really does. So just to show you what the particles look like inside my first wash paint thinners swill on my gun, it's got all these little gold bits that float on the surface. It's really very nice. So this is my first wash after each coat. This is my dirty jar, if you like, and then my airbrush goes into the clean jar for a proper clean before the next colour. But that's what it looks like. You see all the little particles of gold. It's really nice paint. So one reason I like to prime my bodies before doing any work on them is it highlights any work that needs to be done afterwards, and this body is no different. So I've got a heavy mould line that runs across the top of this wing, across the top of this wing, over the top here, across the front slam panel with a slight V in it, and then the same on the other side. It's also a little bit down the front sill, which has been mostly taken away when I took off the tops of the rivets, and the same on the back, but again mostly taken away when I did the rivets. So the other thing that I need to do is cut out these air intakes here. So I'd like to turn those into open holes, and I've got a little bit of mesh here that I'm going to put behind as well. So let's crack on with that. So that gets the body all cleaned up, ready for a second coat of primer. Slam panels cleaned up, tops the wheel arches, front and rear, the rear valance, the front valance, the holes for the intake, and the plastic all thinned out on the back. And while I was thinning out the plastic on the back, I saw the 3 mounting holes for this front bib spoiler, so it does have some mounting holes for it. So there we are. Right, let's get some more pink primer on it and see where we go from there. Okay, so now these are all painted up, it's time to get these wheels and tyres all assembled up and looking pretty. There's one thing to note here, there is actually a pair of front tyres and a pair of rear tyres in this kit. And the way you can tell is if you try and turn them inside out like that to trim off all the little bits of excess rubber, the front tyres are significantly harder to turn inside out than the rears. So these are my rears and these are my fronts. That's just something worthy of note. Right, let's crack on and get these wheels all assembled up. So with all the little imperfections taken care of and a final coat of primer, the primer is now ready to be flatted back. We're going to flat it back with some 3200 grit wet and dry, and then we can start laying on the colours. So I've had a little bit of a play with my colours, and I'm going for this slightly brighter, warmer yellow on this side as opposed to the one in the middle there, which is a little bit darker. And to get that yellow, it's 3 parts of Mr. Colour Yellow, number 4, and 1 part of Mr. Colour Orange Yellow, number 58. Okay, so as you saw, this whole tree was treed up in these components and sprayed in the enamel gloss black Alclad primer. I then masked off these side repeaters and the grille on the front grille here, and then sprayed everything in the chrome. Now what I need to do is put a little bit of the Tamiya X26 orange translucent paint on the top half of these repeater lights. Then I shall spray the whole lot in the Alclad gloss varnish. Once it's all dry, I'll then go over just these black parts, which is the original Alclad primer. I'll go over that in matte varnish so that it'll all go matte behind the grille. Right, so moving on to the red, I've got two reds here, 158 Super Italian Red and number 100 Wine Red. Now I've mixed them up together to get me a slightly richer red, so it's 50-50 mix on this sample here, and 3 parts wine red to 2 parts Italian red on this sample here. Now this sample was a little bit darker, and the 50-50 is a little bit lighter, but still a little bit darker than the standard red. So I'm going to go with the slightly lighter one at a 50-50 mix. So it's 50% 158, 50% 100. Okay, let's get going. Right, so here we get to the bit where I have to spray the chrome all around the windows, and yes, this was an absolute nightmare to mask, but I think I've got it all correct. There's cling film over that bits there and Tamiya masking tape everywhere else. Now what I intend to do is pull apart my Molotow chrome pen. You may not be familiar with these, I don't know, but basically it's a chrome pen that lays down a nice chrome paint. They're really good, and they cover very well over existing colours. Now the trouble is with Alclad is that you have to go over a gloss black base, whereas with the Molotow pens they don't have to go over any base. They're good within themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this pen apart, and I'm going to tip some of the paint out of the pen into my spray cup, and I'm going to spray the Molotow paint straight on to this red very gently. And there we are. The chrome paint stolen from the Molotow pen seems to have gone on really nicely, gives a really good chrome finish on it. So the next job is to get my other Molotow pen, the much finer one, and highlight the bonnet and boot details, the rear cluster details. Then I can move on to doing the water slides. So, with the water slides all now on, I can now think about lacquering up the body. And you'll also notice that I put the interior together. The little man, little silver bit in the middle of his steering wheel. I changed the back colour to red in the end because I've seen some real life pictures of Alfa Romeos with the parcel shelf as body colour, and I thought they looked quite nice. I've also added in some seat belts. Some actual seat belts fixed to his roll bar, just for a little bit of extra detail through the window. So that's that. Right, let's get this body into lacquer. So that gets the body all finished and looking rather resplendent in a deep red paint. I'm not going to do anything with the setup of this chassis because the front braids don't offend me that much, and the height of the guide is already just about spot on. Those front tyres are barely touching, as you can see. They're moving and then not moving. I'm not going to true the tyres either unless the car runs particularly badly. I'm going to leave those exactly as they are. So let's get all of these parts into the body, get the body on the chassis, and then hit the track and see what she goes like. there it is, my little Revoslot GTA. What a wonderful little kit. So I guess you're wondering how well it went round Crow Valley. Well, knowing what Revoslots are like, I was expecting good things. But as I've said before, 55 seconds is a good time. 50 seconds is quick. Anything faster than 50 seconds is really flying. So, how did she do? Did this. Well, what did you expect? It's a Revoslot. It's gonna go quickly. I must admit, these stock tyres are really sticky, but they do have to be trued. I didn't do very much to them. I just put them on my sanding block just to get them round and take off the high spots. I didn't put them on the tyre truer, and that was enough. That's all they needed. And I did actually end up adding 5 grams of weight just in front of the motor, which brought the top weight of the car up to 73.5 grams, just to keep the back end a little bit more planted. But I must say, this car is a really nice kit to put together. But I mean, it's a manufactured kit done by a major manufacturer. You don't really expect anything less. And what I got in my box was exactly what you buy when you buy a fully built kit. So I was expecting the building experience to be very good. And indeed it was. And the final result is shaken up to be a really nice little car. I'm very pleased with it. And it goes really well, which was to be expected. I've heard a lot about Revoslots over the years, although this is actually my first car that I've ever owned that's Revoslot. And I've got to say that I'm very impressed. It wasn't as noisy as I was expecting it to be, and I didn't put any dampers in the little brass posts. I just ran it as it was. I just bedded the gears in just a little tiny bit, a little bit of oil here and there, and then just ran it. And it was very smooth and very nice to hear. It wasn't noisy or grindy or rattly. It was just a nice, clean, sort of just a nice sound. It's really good. So there it is. My little Revoslot GTA all finished and done. I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and maybe you've picked up a few tricks that I've used on this car along the way, hopefully. Anyway, if you enjoy this content, maybe you'll subscribe, and if you hit the little bell button, that'll be awesome. So until the next time, thank you very much.